The moment I came to, I was the male lead in one of those schmaltzy romance novels, and my CEO wife was sliding a piece of paper across the marble island. "Sign it," she said, her voice as cold as the polished stone. "Our 3-year contract is up." The next second, scarlet red text scrolled across my vision, like commentary banners from a live stream. "Attention, attention. It's the iconic scene. The female lead demands a divorce. The male lead, despite his unwillingness, is too proud to beg her to stay. Can't blame her for wanting out. The guy never gave her a sense of security and even accused her of fooling around with her old flame. He deserves this. Can't wait for the part where he realizes he misunderstood her, goes crazy with regret, and kicks off the big groveling redemption arc." Memories flooded my brain, and I froze. The original guy whose life I'd just hijacked was Luke Walton, the sole heir to one of the 4 most powerful families in the country. He was so obsessed with the female lead, Scarlett Vance, that he'd hidden his identity to marry into her family, becoming her stay-at-home husband. He secretly funneled money and resources to prop up her family's company, but never managed to win her over. He was always reluctant to even sleep with him and barely cracked a smile in his direction. And now, she wanted a divorce. I really wanted to tell the old Luke, "Brains are a terrible thing to waste. Too bad you already did. Don't you know simps finish last?" "Luke, did you hear me?" Before Scarlett could finish, I cut her off. "Sure. Whoever doesn't sign is a dog. Let's do it. Right now." For me, this was a win-win. I'd escaped the 9-to-5 corporate grind, been reborn as the heir to a mega-fortune, and was about to ditch a self-important, ice queen wife. Perfect. Scarlett froze, clearly not expecting me to be so agreeable. The hand holding the papers paused mid-air as she stared at me. The commentary banners blanked for a second, then exploded. WTF? Where's the part where the male lead's face twists in pain? Where are the red-rimmed eyes and the shaking body? This isn't right. He almost seems eager. Go ahead. Play it tough. You'll regret this. You'll be crying your eyes out soon enough. Yeah, right. Crying. Dream on. I'm rich. I'm handsome. I can have any woman I want and live any life I choose. I watched Scarlett's crestfallen expression and scoffed internally. Who are you putting on this sad puppy act for? I'm not the old Luke. Your damsel in distress routine won't work on me. Afraid she'd change her mind, I snatched a pen and scrawled my name on the divorce agreement. My signature was a smooth, decisive stroke. No hesitation. Scarlett finally snapped out of it, her brow furrowed. You? I spread my hands. What? Impressed. Is there nothing you want to say to me? I shook my head decisively. Nope. Scarlett stared silently at the signed document, not moving. The banners went wild. WTF? Did they swap scripts? Something's wrong. Very, very wrong. You're so cocky signing that now, but just wait. When you're begging her to come back, it'll be a matter of life and death. I'm waiting for IT. I tossed the pen down and stood up. If that's all, I'm leaving. I had no intention of spending another night under the same roof as a woman like her. I was heading back to my family's mansion. Housekeepers, a private chef, a chauffeur. A life where I don't have to lift a finger. Why wouldn't I want that? Scarlett's lips trembled as she struggled to keep her composure. You're really okay with this? My brow twitched in annoyance. You're the one who asked for the divorce. I agreed. What's the problem? I pressed on. Are the assets not divided to your liking? Or is there something else you want? Or maybe you're just pissed that I didn't beg you to stay. Scarlett's expression turned ugly. The commentary banners were practically screaming. Aha! Is he possessed? Is this the same devoted man who gave up everything for her? The plot is going off the rails. Is the groveling arc even possible now? She's stunned. It's like she doesn't even recognize him anymore. After a long moment, Scarlett collected herself, slipping back into her high and mighty persona. Of course we're getting a divorce. Then she shot me a condescending look. It's just, you have no money and no apartment. Where are you going to go? You don't need to worry about that. I took a few steps toward the door, then turned back. City Hall. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. She couldn't hold it in any longer. Why are you in such a hurry? I answered honestly. Of course I am. Aren't you excited about something this great? Scarlett's face turned green. She ground out. I'm very busy. Just be there on time. Like you're the only one with a schedule. I wasn't about to coddle her. She snatched the agreement off the counter and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Someone's got a temper. I muttered with a shrug. She must still think I'm that old doormat. Sorry, sweetheart. No one's here to put up with your princess attitude anymore. And don't even think about trying to gaslight me. You piss me off, and I'll burn your whole little empire to the ground. The commentary banners went absolutely nuclear. Was this supposed to be a years-long Angiesti fest? Did he just fast forward to the finale? Did he take the wrong pills this morning? He's acting like he doesn't give a damn about her. Ooh, he's self-destructing. This might be the chance for her old flame to swoop in. I'm here for it. The next day, I arrived at City Hall right on time. After a few minutes, a BMW pulled up to the curb. Two people got out. Scarlett and her old flame, Julian Rhodes. He wore glasses and had a polished, academic look about him. The banners popped up instantly, buzzing with excitement. Here we go, here we go. The old flame meets the husband. He's going to get jealous. He's going to back out of the divorce. Isn't he? Fight, fight, fight. Scarlett, dressed in a sharp power suit, looked at me as if she wanted to say something but held back, her expression icy. Julian, however, looked me up and down with a smug, malicious grin. Luke, how'd you get here? Ride your bike? Or maybe a city bike? When I didn't answer, he gloated. You know, for a grown man, you're incredibly lazy. There's no value in being a kept man. Look at you. You can't even afford a decent car. You have to rely on Scarlett to support you. You're an embarrassment to men everywhere. He continued his lecture. It's one thing to be poor, but you're so sensitive. Scarlett and I are just good friends. For you to misunderstand us like that, it's a bit petty. I'm just here today to give you some friendly advice, he said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. If you divorce Scarlett, you'll never find another woman like her willing to take care of you. After his righteous speech, he shot a glance at Scarlett, feigning guilt. Scarlett, please don't let me be the reason you two get divorced. Scarlett frowned slightly, looking like she wanted to speak but remaining silent. I was done being polite. Time to go scorched earth. Are you done barking? Julian's face fell. I kept going. Which one of your eyes saw us getting divorced because of you? You really think you're all that, don't you? I'm divorcing her because I want to. You showing up here in such a rush. You probably weren't even this eager for your own family's funerals. Julian was stunned, his face flushing red and white. Scarlett's eyes widened, her own expression hardening. She clearly didn't expect me to be so vulgar. Their displeasure was my pleasure. Julian. The word, friend, sounds like pollution coming out of your mouth. Maybe you should stick to something more fitting. Side piece, or rebound guy has a nice ring to it. You should get a name tag made. Really own the brand. The banners went insane. LMAO, his mouth is a flamethrower. I'm dying. I can't breathe. He just roasted the old flame into oblivion. Now that I think about it, the way Julian looks at her is definitely not just friends. And he was totally provoking Luke. He deserved that. Scarlett finally found her voice. Luke, that's enough. Funny how she was deaf when Julian was running his mouth about me. But the second I clap back, she jumps in. I really felt sorry for the original Luke. I sneered. And in what capacity are you telling me what to do right now? Scarlett's lips parted, probably remembering we'd already signed the papers. Her face instantly turned to stone. Seeing that I wouldn't even give Scarlett face, Julian stepped in front of her protectively. Luke, he threatened, you're just a freeloader. Do you have any idea what happens when you get on my bad side? I only know that you're about to be finished. I pulled out my phone and called my dad, telling him to cancel all of Walton Corp's partnerships with Julian's company. My dad asked why. I said, I don't like the guy's face. He didn't ask any more questions. Just said okay. What a joke. With my current status, I was the one who bullied others, not the other way around. After I hung up, Julian scoffed. Luke, there's a limit to pretending. You're being really childish. I gave him a slight smile. We'll see about that. Without giving him another glance, I turned to Scarlett. Let's go. Are we getting this done or not? Don't make me late for breakfast. Scarlett's face was so dark it looked like it was about to rain. The banners went ballistic. Bro, you're rushing a divorce. For breakfast? That's the vibe. Total dominance. Doesn't care about anyone. The plot has completely collapsed. Is anyone going to fix this? Luke is ruthless. Given the Walton family's power, Julian is toast. I turned and walked into City Hall without waiting for her. Scarlett followed, the clicks of her heels sharp against the floor. The banners flickered with anticipation. They're actually going in? Are they really gonna do it? Why does she seem so distracted? We sat across from a clerk, who asked in a monotone voice, "Reason for divorce?" Scarlett just sat there, her face a rigid mask. I rolled my eyes. Who was she trying to impress with the silent treatment? "We just can't live together anymore," I said casually. "We've already worked everything out. No kids, and the assets have been divided. We brought the signed agreement." I laid it all out before the clerk could even ask. Just wanting to get it over with, the banners started scrolling frantically again. Seriously? Is he really in this much of a rush? LMAO. It's like he can't stand to be in the same room with her for another minute. He's about to sprint out of here. It's over. She looks pissed. Let her be pissed. I turned to Scarlett. "What are you waiting for? Hand over the agreement." Her face grim. She produced the document. "Luke, you've changed," she said, her brow furrowed. I shot back. "I've changed because I'm not crawling back to you on my hands and knees like you expected? Is that why you're disappointed?" She was speechless for a few seconds before lifting her chin defiantly. "Luke, have you even considered what your life will be like after this?" She was the president of a company. In her eyes, the original Luke was just a house husband with no career. I knew what this was. After I'd put her in her place, she was trying to regain control, to remind me of the gap between us. I shrugged. "Better than yours, I'm sure. Just sign the papers," I said, pointing to the form on the table. "The agreement is done. I have no regrets, and I hope you won't cause any trouble for me." Scarlett's face went pale. She looked at me like I was a complete stranger. The banners lost it. Huh? Did he just say he hopes she doesn't cause him trouble? Did I hear that right? He can't wait to get out of this. It's almost like he's been planning it. It's a total wreck. The plot is in shambles. The clerk handed us the final forms. "Sign here, and you'll receive your divorce certificates." I picked up the pen and wrote my name. Scarlett's hand trembled as she held her pen. She didn't sign immediately, getting sentimental again. "Luke, did you ever even love me?" "What?" I almost laughed out loud. "Lady, what the hell are you talking about? The old Luke worshipped the ground you walked on. He gave up his family for you, willingly became a house husband, and you never gave him the time of day. You treated him like a servant. Did you ever love him?" My patience was wearing thin. "You wanted a divorce." I agreed. "Now you're not satisfied. What? Does the entire planet have to revolve around you?" "I love money. I love freedom. I love beautiful women." I glanced at her, my voice turning to ice. "But I don't love you." Scarlett's eyes immediately turned red. She took a deep breath, her hand shaking as she signed her name. She pressed so hard the tip of the pen nearly tore through the paper. She was clearly furious. The banners went crazy. "His mouth is lethal. He shows no mercy." I think she's about to shatter. Game over. Forget about him chasing her later. They're going to be sworn enemies. The process was quick. After the clerk stamped the papers, I had my official divorce certificate. Without another look at Scarlett, I tucked the certificate away and walked out. The second I stepped outside, a ridiculously flashy red Ferrari screeched to a halt in front of me. A stunning woman in a backless dress got out, a playful grin on her face as she looked at me. The banners lit up instantly. Isn't that his childhood friend? The spoiled heiress, Chloe Astor. I thought they had a falling out. What's she doing here? If Scarlett sees her, she's going to explode. "You told me yesterday you were finally getting a divorce. I was so happy I almost threw a party. Your eyes are finally working again," Chloe Astor teased with a laugh. She and the original Luke had been close, but when he decided to marry into the Vance family, he'd cut her off after she tried to talk him out of it. I'd called her last night after I went back to the Walton estate. She was the queen of living it up, so I figured she could show me a good time. Now that I was single again, I was in a great mood. "I hear you just opened a new club?" Chloe raised an eyebrow, about to answer, when a cold voice, laced with fury, cut through the air from behind us. "Luke, how do you know her?" Chloe and Scarlett despised each other. One thought the other was a pretentious snob. The other thought the first was a useless party girl. With Chloe's outfit and car, it was impossible not to notice her. The banners crackled with excitement. Here it is. The classic love triangle showdown. Scarlett is pissed. This is gonna get bad. LMAO. She looked down on him for so long, and now she's panicking. I looked at Scarlett, my expression blank. My voice was quiet but cut like glass. "None of your business." Scarlett was floored. Her eyes darted between me and Chloe. Then, she quickly regained her composure. "Luke, Even if you're trying to make me angry, you could at least try to build a real career for yourself. Why hire someone to put on a show? It just makes you look childish. Chloe frowned, looking at her with a mix of pity and disgust. Lady, if you've got a screw loose, go get it fixed. He and I are friends. Is it so weird that I'd come celebrate his divorce? Scarlett ignored her, staring straight at me, her voice cracking. Luke, why did you never tell me you knew her? This is cheating. She looked like she was about to burst into tears, as if I'd actually done something to wrong her. I was so done with her act. My tone was filled with undisguised contempt. Scarlett, we are divorced. You need to recognize your new status. You can have your old flame, so why can't I have friends of the opposite sex? From now on, you'd better stay out of my sight. Just looking at you makes me sick. The color drained from Scarlett's face. She couldn't hold it in anymore. A tear rolled down her cheek. The Banners were dumbfounded. Did I hear that right? He said she makes him sick? She's completely stunned. Who is she? Where is she? If it were the old Luke, he would have panicked at the sight of her tears, apologized profusely, and done anything to make her happy. But me, I couldn't care less. Suddenly, Julian rushed over, positioning himself in front of Scarlett. Scarlett, did he hurt you? She just shook her head. Silent, Julian whirled around to face me, his voice booming. Luke, how could you make Scarlett cry? Apologize to her. I glanced from him to Scarlett, then back again and laughed. A cold, mocking laugh. Julian, you're not very good at this, are you? We're already divorced, and you're still not officially on the job. How pathetic. She's all yours now. Good luck. I patted his shoulder. I'm rooting for you, buddy. The expressions on their faces were priceless. Chloe shot them a derisive smile. You two are a special kind of mediocre and overconfident. Aren't you? Do you have any idea who he is? He's the heir to the Walton family. You're not even worthy of polishing his shoes. Let's go, she said to me. As we drove away in her Ferrari, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Scarlett was standing frozen in place. Julian was saying something to her, but she didn't seem to be listening, her eyes fixed on our car. Feeling a little sorry for her? Chloe asked with a knowing look. I leaned back against the leather seat, a grin spreading across my face. So, those hostesses at your club, did you save them all for me? The commentary banners absolutely exploded. Holy shit, holy shit. A new woman every night. Being single is the best. Isn't it a little soon after the divorce? It makes Scarlett look so pathetic. Are you kidding? After she gaslit him for years? He was the pathetic one. Long live the single life. Woo. The next few days flew by faster than I expected. I started working at my family's corporation. From the top executives to the mailroom clerks, everyone treated me with the utmost respect. No one dared to order me around, unlike my ex-wife. After work, I'd go out and blow off some steam. Life was good. Occasionally, a few commentary banners would drift through my vision. Extra, extra. Scarlett and her old flame had a fight. A bunch of Julian's company's deals fell through. He remembered what Luke said and went to Scarlett to ask about Luke's real identity. She told him Luke was from an ordinary family, and Julian blew up. LMAO. That idiot Julian thinks she was hiding it from him on purpose. He's blaming her for his downfall. Scarlett was shocked too. She can't believe her ex-husband comes from such a powerful family. And get this. Without Luke's secret funding, her company is a mess. They're both miserable. It's kinda perfect. Oh, that miserable, huh? Fantastic. They deserve it. That afternoon, while I was reviewing financial reports, a call came through from the front desk. Sir, there are 2 guests downstairs who claim to be your in-laws. They're asking to see you. I thought about how that pair of vultures used to treat the old Luke and told security to let them in. At the same time, I had my assistant place the most expensive sculpture in my office right on the edge of my desk. When the 2 of them walked in, neither gave me so much as a polite nod. I didn't bother getting up from my leather chair or greeting them either. Scarlett's mother launched into a tirade. Luke, we weren't picky about you, we let our daughter marry you, and this is how you repay us? By hiding your identity? You never saw us as family. You were always holding out on us. She plopped onto the sofa and continued her rant. And divorcing my daughter without even consulting us? That's a huge deal. You have no manners. No respect for your elders. I heard you're a Walton. That means while you were married, your money was also my daughter's money. You hid marital assets. I don't accept that divorce agreement. The banners went nuts. Old hag. I can hear your abacus clicking all the way from Chicago. Scarlett's parents are shameless. They used to treat him like a servant, and now they have the nerve to talk about family. Given his recent behavior, I don't think he's going to let them off easy. Get the popcorn. I almost laughed at her audacity. Stroking my chin, I asked with mock interest, "So, what is it you want?" Thinking she had me, Scarlett's mom's eyes lit up. "I'm not asking for much. A mansion for each of us and, say, 300 million for emotional damages. Then we can all part ways amicably." Her nose was in the air, her face a mask of smug calculation. "The Walton family is loaded. That's just pocket change to you. Besides, my daughter gave you 3 years of her youth. You owe her compensation for that." I chuckled. She glared at me. "What's so funny? You lied to us. You owe us." Her father grunted, his posture arrogant. "If you don't pay up, we're not leaving. We'll go to the press. We'll tell everyone you committed marriage fraud." I put down my pen. "You must get paid by the word for all the crap you're spewing," I said softly. "When humanity was evolving, did you two hide in a cave? If you shake your heads, can you hear the ocean?" The Banners were loving it. LMAO. I live for the way he insults people. They walked right into that. They deserve it. And another pair of elders gets verbally destroyed. Today is a good day. Scarlett's parents were stunned, their faces a canvas of ugly emotions. Her mom, recovering first, pointed a trembling finger at me. "We are your elders. You have no shame." I cleaned out my ear. "Could you speak a little softer? I'm afraid of dogs." She went ballistic, lunging forward to hit me. I just pointed at the security camera in the corner. "Go ahead. Try it. Touch me. And see if you walk out of this office." She was used to bullying me, and she couldn't handle being talked back to. She was breathing heavily, rage coiling inside her with nowhere to go. She didn't dare touch me. Her eyes darted around the room and landed on the sculpture on my desk. She snatched it and hurled it to the floor at my feet. "Luke, I'm telling you, if you don't give us the money today, this isn't over." I grinned. That's exactly what I was waiting for. My little trap had worked perfectly. The old Luke would have let them walk all over him. But I wasn't him. I had my assistant call the police. Scarlett's parents were dumbfounded. Even when the cops arrived, they were still shouting, claiming they'd done nothing wrong. They screamed that I had deceived them, that my property was their property, and they could smash whatever they wanted. In the end, they were taken into custody for the destruction of company property. The value was substantial. The Banners were setting off virtual fireworks. Hell yeah, beautifully done. I've hated that couple from the start. What's Scarlett going to do? Will she come beg him to help her parents? I had just walked out of the office building after work when Scarlett blocked my path. She looked a mess, her voice hoarse. "Luke, do you really hate me this much?" I frowned. "Get to the point. I don't have time for your drama." She flinched, then bit her lip. "My parents. They're getting older. They didn't mean it. Can you forgive them?" I let out a cold laugh. "Being old isn't an excuse to commit a crime. Pay for the damages. Then we can talk." The original Luke had secretly propped up her family for years. It was time they paid some of it back. Scarlett's eyes dimmed. She hesitated before saying, "I don't have that much money right now. Can you? Can you give me some time? Then there's nothing to talk about." I turned to leave without a shred of sympathy. Scarlett suddenly lunged forward and grabbed my arm. "Wait." She took a deep breath, as if making a monumental decision. "Luke, if you're willing to let my parents go, I'll remarry you." The Banners exploded. "Oh, are they getting back together?" Poor Scarlett. He's going to cave, isn't he? A perfect happy ending. All his scheming was just to skip the groveling part. They were always meant to be together. I ignored the mindless commentary. My face was a mask of ice as I looked down at her. "Remarry you? You think I'd willingly jump into the same fire twice? Get lost." Scarlett looked as if her world had just ended. Tears streamed down her face. I offered her one last piece of advice. "Scarlett, a good ex is one who acts like they're dead. Stop bothering me." The Banners were filled with wails of despair. I got in my car and drove straight to the new penthouse I'd bought. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone rang. "Hello, is this Mr. Walton? This is University Hospital. Your wife fainted and was brought to the ER. Could you come here as soon as possible?" I paused. Scarlett fainted and was in the hospital? And that was my problem. "Why? You have the wrong number," I said. "I'm not her husband." The The person on the other end was surprised. But the contact in her phone. I thought for a moment, how is she? If she was on death's door, they could just send her straight to the morgue. Ms. Vance seems to have fainted from low blood sugar. It's not life-threatening, but she's in a very fragile state. We were hoping you could. I can't. She wasn't dying, so why waste my time? Listen, I'm her ex-husband. We're divorced. If you need someone, call her old flame. His name is Julian Rhodes. He should be in her contacts. From now on, call him for anything she needs. I hung up. Man, I'm such a good guy. The banners were howling with laughter. LMAO. Luke is a legend. The doctor must be so confused. His CPU is probably fried. One word. Awesome. I never expected to run into Scarlett and Julian 2 days later, as I was about to head into a club for a night out. It was like they were waiting for me. My day was officially ruined. Julian approached me with a questioning, superior tone. Luke, even though you and Scarlett are divorced, you were still married. She was in the hospital, and you couldn't even be bothered to visit? Is that right? I nodded seriously. Yep, sounds right to me. I was already giving her face by not throwing a party to celebrate. Julian was momentarily speechless, his face souring. How can you be so cold-blooded? I shrugged. I stayed away so you wouldn't get the wrong idea, Mr. Rebound. See how considerate I am. Two could play at this passive-aggressive game. I could be just as nauseating. Julian's face twisted, his eyes practically shooting flames. Luke, do you still want to get back together with Scarlett? A wave of banners scrolled by. No. Hell no. He still thought I was the same pathetic simp with no self-respect. He actually thought that was a threat. He was so wrong. Just as I was about to speak, Scarlett turned to him. Julian, can you leave us alone for a minute? I want to talk to Luke privately. A muscle in Julian's jaw twitched. His eyes darted between the two of us before he finally nodded. Fine. Call me if you need anything. He shot me one last glare before reluctantly walking away. Scarlett's face was pale. All of her usual powerful CEO aura gone. Her voice was weary. Luke, I came here today to apologize. My parents and we were awful to you before. We hurt you. I never really wanted to divorce you, she continued, her voice trembling. When I thought you were suspicious of me and Julian, I got angry and used the divorce papers to threaten you. I regret it so much now. After we divorced, I realized I've fallen in love with you. Will you give me another chance? You don't need to apologize to me, I said flatly. It's too late. The person she was apologizing to was already gone. Scarlett looked stunned. She pressed on, desperate. Luke, why? I never cheated on you. I never did anything to betray you. Why can't you forgive me? I laughed. A humorless, biting sound. You knew I hated you being so close to Julian, yet you still went out with him alone all the time. Work trips, vacations, dinners. You two were practically joined at the hip. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You only regret it now because I'm no longer your doormat who will forgive anything you and your family do. You're just scared. Regret filled her eyes, and tears welled up. Luke, I waved a dismissive hand, thoroughly annoyed. Stop coming to me. I'm not the old Luke anymore. I turned and walked away without looking back. Behind me, I could hear her choked, broken sobs. I pulled out my phone and made another call to my dad, telling him to use the full force of the company to crush Julian's business. That clown was still hopping around. It was time I put him in his place for good. The banners chattered away. Luke is so ruthless, kicking a man when he's down. Scarlett must be regretting everything, but it's too late. He's not looking back. You reap what you sow, I guess. 2 hours later, Chloe was giving me a dark look from across the VIP table. Haven't you ordered enough yet? She wasn't talking about the champagne. She was talking about the models. I clapped her on the shoulder. You can never have too many. I raised my glass, gesturing to the circle of gorgeous women surrounding me. Look at them. Perfect skin, beautiful faces, legs for days. Just being around them puts me in a better mood. The old Luke was such a fool. The world was full of beautiful women, and he was rich and handsome. But no, he had to hang himself on one crooked tree. Chloe laughed. Looks like you're finally over her. To freedom. I toasted her. A few of the models came over to offer me drinks, while others started giving me a shoulder massage. Just then, the commentary banners exploded. Whoa, what's wrong with Julian? He's fighting with Scarlett again. What happened? They seemed fine a minute ago. Julian got a call. His dad told him he pissed off someone untouchable and that he's on his own now. Oh, that was our boy Luke. Nice one. Wait, the way Julian is looking at her. That's not good. He asked her to help him, and she actually refused. Told him they shouldn't contact each other anymore, that they should be strangers. The banners paused for a beat, then flooded my vision. Holy shit. Holy shit. Julian just kidnapped Scarlett. What the hell? It's not like they're mortal enemies. He's being crushed by Luke and can't get revenge. So he grabbed Scarlett to use her as a hostage to threaten Luke. What? I was shocked. After moving back to the Walton estate, I always had bodyguards with me. It would be hard for Julian to get to me directly, but I never imagined he'd be stupid enough to kidnap Scarlett. I almost burst out laughing. Right on cue, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered it casually. Julian's voice, vicious and full of hate, came through the line. Luke, you pushed me too far. I've been kicked out of my family. Are you happy now? Turns out Julian's mother was the other woman. He had an older half-brother from his father's first marriage. When I had the Walton family apply pressure, the Rhodes family cut him loose without a second thought. Serves him right, bringing my thoughts back to the present. I chuckled. Not really. I think your life could still be a lot worse. Julian's voice turned sinister. Don't get cocky, Luke. I have Scarlett. If you want her back, you'll give me... Just kill her. I hung up before he could finish. Using Scarlett to threaten me? Did a donkey kick him in the head? The banners went absolutely feral. LMAO. I'm dead. Luke never follows the script. Julian must be so confused. Scarlett must be regretting her entire life right now. To think her one that got away would kidnap her. He's not actually going to hurt her, is he? A video message came through. In it, Scarlett was bound to a chair with her mouth taped shut. Her hair was a mess, and her eyes were filled with tears. I thought about it for a second, then dialed 911. I'd like to report a kidnapping. Later that night, I was having the time of my life at the club when a few more banners floated by. Yay! The police rescued Scarlett. She's not physically hurt, but she's pretty traumatized. She keeps muttering Luke's name. Too bad there are no do-overs in life. Keep the music going. Let's dance. I yelled over the beat. A crowd of beautiful women swirled around me. Their outfits barely there. Their bodies moving in hypnotic ways. I'd spent my whole life being a good person. Ending up with a woman on each arm was the karma I deserved.
I tossed the divorce papers onto the table in front of Victoria Beaumont. Your long-lost love is back in the country. The contract's over. She suddenly tore the agreement to shreds, a cold smile playing on her lips. I've changed my mind. So, the third time Julian Vance decided to provoke me, I broke 3 of his ribs. Victoria stood over his hospital bed, screaming at me. Are you insane? The single sheet of paper, the divorce agreement, landed softly on Victoria Beaumont's ridiculously expensive sofa. She was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse, swirling a glass of red wine. The city lights of Manhattan glittered below, casting a beautiful, lonely glow on her face, but they couldn't cut through the untouchable, icy reserve she wore like a second skin. Here, sign it. Your Julian Vance landed at JFK at 3 this afternoon. He's probably just clearing customs now. Congratulations, Ms. Beaumont. After 3 long years, the leading man is back. It's time for this little show of ours to end. My voice was flat, mechanical, like I was closing out a project file. Victoria's hand froze. She didn't look at the papers, didn't look at me. She just kept swirling the wine in her glass with those slender fingers. After half a minute, maybe more, she finally turned her head. She looked at me and said coolly, "You certainly keep well informed." Her voice, perhaps softened by the wine, had a hint of an alluring rasp, but it was still cold enough to freeze hell over. Her eyes drifted from me to the single piece of A4 paper on her sofa. I stretched my lips into a professional smile. It's part of the job, Ms. Beaumont. A contract requires professionalism. The 3-year term is up. You get your freedom, and I get the hell out of your way. Isn't this what you wanted from the start? A shield to deal with your family's old money obsession with marriage and heirs. Someone to fend off the usual sharks and parasites. Now that the real thing is back, it's time for the placeholder to make a graceful exit. I nodded toward the papers. It's just a signature. Let's make it quick. The second you sign, I'll pack my things and be gone. I won't leave so much as a stray hair behind. Her face was its usual mask of cold indifference. She picked up the papers. There wasn't much to read. The agreement stipulated I walk away with nothing, which was fine. She'd already paid me what was owed over the past 3 years. After a quick glance, she looked back at me and set her wine glass down on the coffee table. You don't want anything else? You have a good sense of humor, Miss Beaumont, I said with a slight smile. I'm a professional. I deliver a quality service, keep things clean, and never ask for more than I'm owed. I watched as she raised her right hand. I expected her to pick up a pen and sign her name with that sharp, elegant signature she used on countless corporate documents. I was wrong. Dead wrong. She didn't reach for a pen. Her hand shot out and grabbed the divorce agreement. Rear up. The sharp sound of tearing paper shattered the room's silence. Before I could even process it, the agreement I'd spent half an hour printing and proofreading was reduced to a pile of scraps in her perfectly manicured hands. As she looked at me and sneered, "Oomph, a quality service." I was completely stunned, my mind a total blank. "Caleb Flynn, are you really that desperate to leave?" she hissed, her voice sharp. She took a few quick steps toward me in her slippers, closing the distance until I was enveloped in the scent of her expensive perfume and red wine. She stared daggers at me, and I could see the raw fury burning in her eyes. Desperate, I stammered. I had to admit, her intensity was throwing me off balance. It only lasted a second. I found my footing. "Victoria, have you lost your mind?" When we signed this damn contract, it was spelled out in black and white. 3 years, purely transactional, no strings attached. Now, the time is up. Your precious Julian is back. And you want me to stick around? What for? To be the third wheel for you two lovebirds? Or should I just wait for you to have security throw me out? I pointed at the confetti of paper on the floor, a hot surge of anger rising in my own chest. What the hell was that? If you're having a psychotic break, go see a shrink. Don't take it out on me. She looked at me as if I just told the funniest joke in the world, a glacial smirk forming on her lips, but the fire in her eyes burned even hotter. A psychotic break? Yes, maybe I am. I've changed my mind. Caleb, this marriage? We're not ending it. She hammered out those last few words, each one a stone thrown at my head. I felt like I was in a fever dream. The absurdity of it all washed away my anger, replaced by sheer disbelief. I actually laughed. Not ending it? Victoria, get a grip. This was a business deal, not a fairy tale. The one that got away, the man you've been pining for 3 years, is back. And you're pulling this soap opera routine with me? Did you forget who you're talking to? I ran a hand through my hair in frustration, a vein throbbing in my temple. Fine. You don't want to sign? No problem. Kinko's is open 24/7. I'll bring you another copy tomorrow. You tear one up, I'll print 10 more. Let's see what runs out first, your patience or my printer ink. You're signing this, one way or another. This divorce is happening. Done. I was done looking at her beautiful, infuriating, impossible face. I didn't have the energy to figure out what kind of twisted game she was playing with this sudden reversal. I turned to leave, wanting nothing more than to escape the suffocating weirdness of that room. The contract was over. We go our separate ways. It was simple. Victoria's sudden breakdown was just a complication, a massive, annoying complication. I hate complications, and I hate when my plans get screwed up. But the complications were just beginning. Victoria's baffling refusal to divorce me was like opening Pandora's box, and the first slimy little demon to crawl out was Julian Vance. The man who was supposedly a brilliant, charming artist. The one that got away, who Victoria had supposedly waited 3 years for. In reality, he was a self-important, condescending prick. The first time was at a members-only club downtown. I had just finished a meeting with a business partner when I ran into him in the hallway. He was surrounded by a posse of hangers-on, dressed in a tailored suit, his hair slicked back like some kind of wannabe movie villain. He had that classic artist look on his face, a blend of moody melancholy and detached superiority that just screamed asshole. When he saw me, his eyes, deep-set and framed by long lashes, filled with undisguised contempt. Well, if it isn't Victoria's little Mr. Flynn, he said, drawing out my name with a light, mocking tone. All by yourself? Victoria couldn't make it? Oh, that's right. She and I have been so busy catching up, discussing some new projects. She's been occupied. He stepped closer, and a wave of cologne that smelled like someone had sprayed air freshener in a pile of garbage hit me. He lowered his voice, a venomous whisper meant only for me. You've been warming her bed for 3 years. Don't you think it's time to move your ass? A placeholder is a placeholder. The real thing is back, so why don't you do us all a favor and crawl back under whatever rock you came from? It's pathetic, really. Victoria is too soft-hearted to kick you out, but you can't possibly think you actually matter to her, do you? The sycophants behind him let out a few muffled, derisive snickers. Victoria's refusal to sign the papers had already put me on edge. Now, this clown was poking the bear. My hands balled in a fist at my sides. I took a sharp step forward. He clearly hadn't expected that. The smug look on his face vanished, replaced by a flicker of fear, and he instinctively started to back away. But just as my fist was a fraction of an inch from his self-satisfied face, a cold voice echoed down the hall. "Caleb, what do you think you're doing?" Victoria. She had appeared out of nowhere, dressed in a sharp black power suit, her makeup flawless. Her eyes were locked on me, or more precisely, on my raised fist. It was like a switch flipped in Julian's head. He instantly found his courage, his fear melting away into a mask of victimhood and indignation. He scurried behind Victoria, his voice trembling just enough to be convincing. "Victoria, you saw him. He was going to hit me. I was just trying to have a civil conversation, and he just snapped. It's terrifying." Victoria didn't even look at him. Her gaze remained fixed on me. "Caleb, I'm warning you for the last time. Stay away from Julian, and drop the gutter tactics, or you'll regret it." My fist, still hanging in the air, trembled slightly. Julian's face, peeking out from behind Victoria's shoulder, was a sickening mix of triumph and relief. "Gutter tactics?" I stared back at her, searching her cold, protective eyes for any sign of doubt, any crack in the facade. There was nothing, just a frozen wall of ice, shielding Julian Vance. The rage boiling in my chest was forced back down. I lowered my fist. It wasn't surrender. It was the suffocating feeling of utter pointlessness. Hitting him now, with her standing there, would solve nothing. A grim, ugly smile spread across my face as I looked at the man hiding behind a woman. "Julian, you better pray to whatever God you believe and that the next time we meet, Victoria is just as timely with her little rescue mission." My voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence, and every single person in the hallway heard it. Without another look at any of them, I turned and strode away. Behind me, I could hear Julian's voice, artificially loud and full of bluster. "Victoria, do you hear that? He's threatening me. I left his whining behind me, along with the stench of his cologne and the ice in Victoria's eyes. That first warning was a stone dropped into a deep lake. It made a few ripples, but it changed nothing. No, that's not true. It did change something. It made Julian Vance fatally misjudge where my breaking point was. And it made him believe, foolishly, that Victoria's protection was absolute. The second provocation came faster, and it was even cheaper. It was a few evenings later. I was heading to my usual boxing gym. I just parked my unassuming black Jeep and was about to get out when a flashy, bright yellow McLaren screeched to a halt, cutting in at a sharp angle. It stopped inches from my front bumper, completely blocking my driver's side door. The butterfly door swung open, revealing Julian's punchable face. Today he was in an even more obnoxious blue suit, his hair greased back, that same self-satisfied smirk plastered on his face. "TSK. Fancy seeing you here, Mr. Flynn. What's the matter? Bad day? Need to punch a bag to let off some steam? I get it. It must be tough, being a stray dog kicked to the curb. A man's got to have somewhere to lick his wounds." He leaned casually against his car door, his eyes filled with the malicious glee of a cat toying with a mouse. He sauntered over to my driver's side window, bent down, and stared at me through the glass, his expression a mask of pure, unadulterated provocation. "You know, Victoria's been in such a good mood lately," he said, drawing out his words. "She's been telling me all about the past, the present, and the future. She said if her family hadn't been pressuring her so hard back then, she never would have ended up with someone like you. Well, but it's all good now. I'm back, and she finally doesn't have to pretend to be happy with a cheap imitation." He leaned closer, his mouth almost touching the glass, and lowered his voice. "Oh, and she also said that every single day with you made her skin crawl, especially the thought of having to sleep in the same bed as you. Crunch." A dull thud cut off his venomous little speech. It wasn't my fist. It was me, shoving my driver's side door open with all my strength. The heavy steel door of the Jeep, fueled by my rage, slammed squarely into Julian, who was still bent over, completely unprepared. Arg! A short, sharp scream tore from his throat as the force of the impact sent him stumbling backward. He flailed for a moment before collapsing in a pathetic heap on the concrete parking lot. His perfectly styled hair was a mess. His expensive blue suit was covered in dust, and the smug smile on his face was replaced by a twisted mask of pain and shock. I stepped out of the Jeep and looked down at him as he writhed on the ground like a helpless beetle flipped onto its shell. I looked at him like he was a piece of trash. "Skin crawl," I said, crouching down. "You better hope that the next time you decide to run that sewer you call a mouth, there isn't a car door handy." He was curled up in pain, his forehead beaded with cold sweat. The look in his eyes was a mixture of terror and disbelief. His lips trembled, but he couldn't manage a single word. I stood up, didn't give him a second glance, and walked toward the entrance of the gym. Behind me, I could hear his muffled groans and the gasps of a few passersby. I knew that this time, Victoria's timely rescue hadn't made it. But the trouble wasn't over. Julian's stupidity and his inability to learn a lesson seemed to be directly proportional to his narcissism. The third time was in the VIP lounge of a high-end department store. I was just there to have coffee with a client from out of town, finalizing the details of a contract. I had just walked my client to the door and was heading to the restroom when, in the quiet corridor, I ran into Julian Vance yet again. The bruise on his face hadn't fully faded, and he was walking with a slight, unnatural stiffness, but that nauseating arrogance of his seemed to be welded to his very bones. The moment he saw me, a flash of instinctual fear crossed his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a stronger, more venomous need for revenge. He probably thought that in a crowded, public place like this, I wouldn't dare touch him. He deliberately blocked my path, forcing a fake smile onto his face. His voice was pitched just loud enough for the few people milling around to hear. TSK, you're like a bad smell that just won't go away. Caleb, what's the point of clinging to Victoria like some kind of leech? She told me herself. The very sight of you makes her sick to her stomach. She asked me to pass along a message. Get lost on your own, or she'll be forced to ruin you professionally. A kept man who lives off a woman like you. This time, there was no car door, no glass between us. The security camera on the ceiling blinked its tiny red light. The air smelled of expensive perfume. A soft piano melody drifted from the lounge. Everything about the situation screamed, be civilized. Stay calm. This is not the place. To hell with civilized. Julian's mouth, opening and closing as it spewed filth, was a lit fuse. The rage I'd suppressed the last 2 times, the frustration for Victoria tearing up the divorce papers, and this idiot's relentless, suicidal provocations. All of it detonated at once. A white-hot fury shot straight to my brain. My world went silent. The music, the distant chatter, even the sound from Julian's still-moving lips, it all disappeared. My body moved before my brain could catch up. No hesitation. No warning. The instant the words kept man left his mouth, I lunged forward. My right leg shot out like a steel whip, aimed directly at his side. Thwack, crack, a sickening thud, followed by the unmistakable sound of bones snapping, exploded in the quiet corridor. Agate! Julian's scream was high and sharp, like a rooster being strangled. He went airborne, flying sideways into the decorative wall paneling on the opposite side of the hall. Whump! The heavy impact seemed to shake the entire wall. He slid to the floor like a sack of wet cement, curling into a fetal position. His body twitched violently, his hands clutching his ribs. Beads of sweat instantly soaked his meticulously styled hair. He was in so much pain he couldn't even scream properly anymore. The world was silent again. The few people who had been passing by were frozen in place, their faces masks of horror and disbelief, as if they'd just witnessed a murder. I stood there, my eyes coldly scanning the twitching pile of garbage on the floor. Then, I turned and walked toward the men's room. Complications? To hell with complications. There's a limit to patience. Since Victoria wanted to make my life difficult by refusing the divorce, I just have to make her life more difficult with Julian's broken bones. This time, Victoria's timely rescue was a complete and utter failure. By the time the ambulance was wailing its way to the hospital with Julian inside, I was sitting in an interrogation room at the local precinct. When Victoria arrived, her perfect face was colder than a tombstone. The look she gave me was worse than the one you'd give your mortal enemy. The hospital smelled overpoweringly of antiseptic. In a private, high-end room, Julian lay on the sterile white bed like a broken marionette, hooked up to a mess of wires and tubes. His fluttering eyelashes, however, betrayed the fact that he was wide awake. On the bedside table was the medical report. Linear fractures of the 7th, 8th, and 9th ribs on the left side, with associated soft tissue contusions. Victoria had gone to speak with the doctor. I had been invited to the room to apologize to Julian. The door to the room was thrown open with a loud bang. Victoria stormed in like a blizzard. She didn't even glance at Julian playing dead on the bed. She marched straight up to me. She was still in her black business suit, her makeup still perfect, but her beautiful eyes were blazing with a fire hot enough to incinerate me. Caleb, are you fucking insane? Huh? Her voice was shrill, distorted by rage. She raised her hand as if to slap me, but it froze in midair. Instead, she jabbed a perfectly manicured finger right at my nose. Do you have any idea what you've done? In broad daylight, in front of everyone, you could have killed him. That's 3 ribs, Caleb. 3. Her chest heaved, her words dripping with suffocating fury. What is the law to you? A joke? Do you think I'm just going to let this slide? Are you actively trying to go to prison? The room was dead silent. I leaned against the cold wall, my hands stuffed in my pockets, my face a blank mask as I watched her tirade. Her objective was clear, to champion the cause of the pathetic creature in the bed. The whole scene was so absurd it was almost funny. While I'd never had any illusions about her, I couldn't deny that her fury extinguished some faint, lingering spark of something I didn't even know was there. A coldness settled deep in my chest. I pulled one corner of my mouth into a slight sneer. The law, I said slowly, then my eyes shifted to the man pretending to be asleep in the bed. Julian, you listen to me, and you listen good. This time was 3 ribs. Think of it as interest on your debt. My voice was low, but it carried a chilling, bone-deep finality. The next time you dare to show your face in front of me, whether it's in a mall, a restaurant, on the street, or in Victoria Beaumont's goddamn bed, I promise you, I will make sure you spend the rest of your miserable life in a wheelchair. Do you understand me? My gaze was glacial. Caleb, what are you talking about? Shut your mouth. Victoria was trembling with rage, her voice a sharp command. But on the bed, the unconscious Julian flinched violently. He couldn't keep up the act any longer. His eyes flew open, and his normally arrogant gaze was now filled with pure, unadulterated terror. He stared at me, his lips quivering as he instinctively tried to shrink back under the covers. Victoria froze, stunned. She clearly hadn't expected such a dramatic and pathetic reaction from him. Mission accomplished. I didn't spare either of them another glance. Ignoring Victoria's murderous glare and Julian's terrified one, I straightened up and walked out of the room, leaving the smell of antiseptic and broken promises behind me. The wheelchair warning worked like a charm, even better than I'd expected. Julian Vance completely vanished. Not literally, of course, but he evaporated from my world. The carefully orchestrated chance encounter stopped. He no longer showed up at any of my usual spots. There were no more attempts to send his nauseating provocations my way. It culminated at a high-profile charity gala, as Victoria's legal, and I grimaced at the thought. Husband, I had to attend. That woman still hadn't signed the papers. Across the glittering, crowded ballroom, I saw him. Julian was holding court, surrounded by a circle of socialites. He seemed to have recovered well, dressed in a bespoke tuxedo, that pretentious smile back on his face as he pontificated about something. Then his eyes happened to drift in my direction. Time seemed to freeze. The smile on his face instantly solidified. His pupils dilated in a split second of pure panic. His entire body jerked, and the champagne flute in his hand slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The chatter around him died instantly. Every eye turned to him, but Julian didn't seem to notice. His eyes were locked on me, his expression that of a man seeing a ghost. A moment later, in front of everyone, he completely abandoned his carefully crafted image. He shoved aside one of the women next to him and practically scrambled for the exit, almost tripping over his own feet. An awkward, heavy silence fell over the ballroom, followed by a wave of hushed whispers and curious glances. I stood my ground, a glass of whiskey in my hand, watching his pathetic figure disappear. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, especially the sudden, venomous glare from Victoria. An indescribable wave of satisfaction washed over me. Damn, that felt good. Beating him up was a physical release, but branding his soul with terror, making him flee at the mere sight of me, that level of absolute dominance was a whole different kind of thrill. I ignored Victoria's icy stare and downed my whiskey in one gulp. The annoying fly that was Julian Vance had finally been swatted. Smeared, in fact. Now it was time to deal with the final problem. The woman who tore up the contract. The one who inexplicably refused to let me go. Later that night, I leaned back in a leather chair in my home office, the cigarette between my fingers burned down to the filter. On the desk in front of me was a fresh copy of the divorce agreement. Ever since she'd torn up the first one, I'd had my lawyer print 249 more. They were stacked in the corner. I picked up a pen and, in the space for Party B, I signed my name with a decisive flick of the wrist. Then I picked up the signed document and walked toward the master bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. Victoria was standing with her back to me, in front of the massive mirror in her walk-in closet. She just showered. A soft, silk robe was draped over her body, revealing the elegant line of her neck. She seemed to be choosing a nightgown, holding up two different slip dresses to the mirror. Hearing the door, she paused, and looked at my reflection in the mirror. The face in the glass, stripped of its daytime sharpness and cold fury, had a rare softness to it. It was almost languid. She said nothing, just watched me, her expression unreadable. I strode over to her. No pleasantries, no small talk. I held the signed divorce agreement out to her. Sign it. Julian's gone. He won't be bothering you anymore. This whole farce can finally be over. My voice was flat. After all this, I'd come to a new conclusion. Julian probably wasn't her long-lost love. More likely, she was just using me to get rid of a persistent annoyance. Victoria's gaze shifted from my reflection to the paper in my hand. Her eyes lingered on the black ink for a few seconds, her long lashes casting shadows on her cheeks. Then, she looked up, meeting my eyes in the mirror again. This time, the corner of her mouth curved upward, slowly, into a smile. It wasn't a happy smile. It wasn't an angry one either. It was faint, subtle, but it held a strange, unsettling quality. Like a predator watching its prey finally walk into the trap. She didn't reach for the papers. Instead, she let the nightgowns drop from her hand. She turned to face me. The silk robe parted slightly with the movement, revealing more of her smooth, pale skin. The strange smile on her face deepened. Divorce, she whispered, her voice husky from the steam of her shower, sending a strange tingle down my spine. She shook her head, a slow, elegant motion, as if dismissing a ridiculous suggestion. Caleb, I think you've misunderstood something. She took a small step forward, so close I could smell the fresh, feminine scent of her skin. I never said I wasn't divorcing you because of Julian. Whether he comes back or disappears has absolutely nothing. Her voice was soft, almost a purr. She paused, and the smile bloomed fully on her lips. To do with it. The moment the words left her mouth, a dark premonition washed over me. It wasn't about Julian? Then why tear up the papers? Why refuse the divorce? Why let him provoke me twice before I snapped? This woman. What the hell did she want? My instinct screamed at me to back away, to put some distance between us. But just as my body tends to move, she moved first. Her right hand, hidden until now in the wide sleeve of her robe, shot out, and it was a small, elegant atomizer. PSSSD. A faint hiss. A cold, strangely sweet-smelling mist shot directly into my face. My brain screamed a silent alarm. Shit. Chloroform? She actually... A powerful wave of dizziness hit me like a sledgehammer. Victoria's smiling face began to blur. The crystal chandelier on the ceiling fractured into 1,000 shimmering lights. I managed to force out a single, slurred word before my body gave out completely. In the last second before I blacked out, I thought I saw her arms reaching out to catch my falling body, the smile on her face unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was triumphant, predatory. Damn it, I walked right into it. Then, total darkness. I don't know how long it was. A second, or an eternity. A faint, warm sensation gently stirred my senses. The feeling, it was on my lips. Soft, wet, with a gentle, insistent pulling. A suction that would not be denied. Next, my sense of smell returned. An overwhelming wave of feminine fragrance, and the salty, musky scent of sweat after exertion flooded my nostrils. It was so potent, so real. Slowly, as if fighting through mud, my senses came back online. With a massive effort, I forced my eyes open. My vision was blurry, swimming, like looking through a pane of rippling water. The first thing I saw was a field of smooth, pale white, incredibly close. It was moving. My eyes struggled to focus, traveling upward until they met another pair, just inches from my own. Victoria. She was on top of me. Her entire body was covering mine. Her arms were braced on either side of my shoulders, that impossibly beautiful face hovering just centimeters from mine. A few strands of her damp hair fell across my cheek and neck, tickling me. She clearly hadn't expected me to wake up so soon. Her movements froze. Her gorgeous eyes, for a split second, showed a flash of genuine surprise. But just as quickly, the surprise was replaced by something far more intense. It was a look of crazed possessiveness, of a deep, almost pathological satisfaction. It was terrifyingly bright. She didn't pull away. If anything, she leaned closer, her hot breath ghosting across my lips. You're awake. Her voice was no longer the cool, crisp tone of a CEO. It was a husky, throaty purr, saturated with a lazy, raw magnetism. The drug wore off a little faster than I expected. She let out a low laugh, a sound laced with an unnerving intimacy and contentment. Every muscle in my body went rigid. A tidal wave of shock and a violent feeling of violation made me want to fight, to throw her off, but my limbs felt like wet noodles. I had no strength. All I could do was grind out a few broken words. You drug me. Victoria, you fucking. Sure. She pressed a single, delicate finger to my lips, silencing my useless curses. Her body shifted slightly, her eyes locking onto mine. There was no guilt on her face, no remorse. Only a fervent, almost maniacal focus. Then, she spoke, her voice a soft, deadly whisper. Caleb, actually, 3 years ago, on the day we signed that contract. She paused, a twisted, predatory smile spreading across her lips. Her beautiful eyes curved into crescents, but they churned with a terrifying, obsessive light. I wanted to do this then. I also wanted to lock you in my basement. My basement. Boom. A bomb went off in my head. My thoughts were obliterated, leaving nothing but white noise. 3 years ago, the day we signed the contract, the basement, all the details I had ignored, the strange, intense emotion I'd seen in her eyes when she tore up the agreement, her bizarrely passive reaction to Julian's first 2 provocations. It all clicked into place, forming a single, horrifying truth. She didn't want to stay married. She had never intended to let me go. From the very beginning, this so-called contract marriage was nothing but an elaborate cage. And I was the prize she had been hunting all along. An icy chill, sharp and painful, shot down my spine. I stared up at the beautiful, terrifying face so close to my own and realized, for the first time, that I had fallen into a pit far deeper and more hopeless than I could have ever imagined. My throat was so dry I could barely make sound. A psycho. Victoria completely ignored my accusation. If anything, the sick smile on her face grew brighter. The finger on my lips didn't move. It traced their outline with a possessive touch. A psycho, she repeated softly, her voice filled with a strange satisfaction. Maybe, but Caleb, do you have any idea how hard these 3 years have been? Watching you walk around my life every day, technically my husband, but acting like a cold, unfeeling machine. Do you know what kind of self-control that took? Her body pressed down again, her heat sinking into me. Her warm breath, smelling of roses and something dangerously primal, washed over my face. Julian Vance, that idiot. She scoffed, her tone dripping with contempt. Who does he think he is? He was nothing more than a tool to provoke you. Watching him push your buttons again and again, watching the anger and disgust build in your eyes. You have no idea how exciting it was for me. Her voice rose, laced with a twisted glee. Especially that day at the mall, when you kicked him, when you broke his ribs. Caleb, the look in your eyes. You were like a cornered lion, finally unleashed. Vicious, savage, filled with this incredible, destructive power. It was so captivating it made my knees weak. It's a shame I could only watch it on the security footage. As she spoke, she actually ground her hips against mine, letting out a soft, contented sigh. It all made sense now. Every one of Julian's provocations had been with her permission, maybe even at her encouragement. She got off on my anger. She enjoyed watching Julian get his ass kicked by me. This woman wasn't just complicated. She was a goddamn psychopath. Get off me. I used every last ounce of my remaining strength to struggle, but my arms only managed a pathetic lift from the mattress before falling uselessly back down. Get off. Victoria sounded as if I'd said something hilarious. She leaned down, her hot lips almost touching my earlobe. Caleb, my dear husband, I waited 3 years for this day. Now that I finally have you right where I want you, do you really think I'm going to let go? Her voice dropped to a horrifying, syrupy whisper, thick with obsession. From the moment I saw you fight for me at that club 3 years ago, I knew. You were mine. You could only ever be mine. A club? A fight? Fuzzy fragments of a memory surfaced. 3 years ago, a chaotic night at some second-rate club. A business dinner I couldn't get out of, some drunk new money asshole getting handsy with a woman. And then? Yeah, I lost my temper. I beat the fat pig senseless, put him in the hospital. And in the crowd of onlookers, my eyes shot to Victoria's, inches from mine. In their beautiful, insane depths, I saw the reflection of my own dawning horror. She was that woman. The club was so dark, and I'd been drinking. I never even got a clear look at her face. Remember now? She smiled like a cat that had not only gotten the cream, but had also drowned the farmer in the vat. Her fingers trailed from my cheek down to the hollow of my throat. The way you looked back then, coiled with aggression, your eyes like knives, your movements so clean and lethal, like a panther. That fat bastard was like a rag doll in your hands. Her breathing grew heavier. Her skin felt feverish against mine. From that moment, I made up my mind. I had to have you, by any means necessary. To hell with Julian Vance. To hell with family alliances. None of it mattered. Only you. Only that wildness, that savagery inside of you, Caleb. That's what I want. She lowered her head, and her lips, tasting of roses and obsession, crashed down on mine. It wasn't a kiss. It was a brand, a declaration of ownership. It was brutally possessive, pathologically dominant. Her tongue tried to force its way past my clenched teeth. MMPH. I twisted my head, using the last dregs of my strength to break the insane contact. Get off. I roared, my voice raw and distorted with fury and weakness. My resistance only seemed to excite her more. Victoria lifted her head, not a trace of anger on her face at being rejected, only a brighter, more twisted gleam in her eyes. So wild, so perfect. She panted, a feverish blush rising on her cheeks. Her gaze was hazy, dangerous. This is what I love about you. The more you fight back, Caleb, the more excited I get. There's no thrill greater than taming an untamable lion, is there? These 3 years. Her eyes raked greedily over my exposed chest. Every single day I dreamed about this. I dreamed of locking you up, keeping you all to myself. I dreamed of this body, these powerful hands, these savage eyes, burning for me and me alone. Her fingertips, trailing sparks, slid across my collarbone, my chest, with the possessive air of someone admiring a prized acquisition. And now, she leaned down, her scorching lips finding the side of my neck. I've finally caught you. God damn it. No, I should be on top. For the first time since I was a child, I felt a tear of pure, helpless humiliation escape my eye and slide silently down my temple.